All right, gamers, today we're going to look at Valparaiso. Let's check it out. Alright, so how you set up this game is that each player is going to get one of their little player pawns here. They're going to place them here in Valparaiso here. By the way, this is a double-sided board. If you're playing only a 2 to 3 player game, you'd flip it over. There'd be less cities in the Valparaiso, or less spots to plant houses, and there'd be one less merchant station here, but that's the only difference. This is for a 4-player game. You're going to put all your ships here. Each player will have their own ship here in the bay there. They're also going to randomly, they're going to choose and put one of their other merchants out in one of these little spots here. I put them in the towns here, but they could also be here at one of the way stations. I'll get to what those are in a minute. You're also going to be shuffling these little tiles here. As you see, they come in A through E, and you'll shuffle them up and then put them on the board corresponding with the letter there. They represent all 4 of the little trade centers here. There is a spot that isn't a trade center, but I'll get to what this means in a minute. You'll put the A, B, C, D, E there, and that's how you'll start the game. You're also going to deal out all these cards here. They're going to have the A on the bottom there, and there's only 9 of them. So you'll put out the starting cards, you'll shuffle them up and put them out into these 3 little areas, and you see there's little places to show you where those cards will be. You're also going to put a 5 pesos right here in each little area as well, and your starting markers will go right here. The little starting disc will go right there. Now each player will pick something from their player board here, and you can decide the colors by the flags there. This game plays up to 5 players. Each player will receive $20. They'll get 4 of these little houses that they will place right here on their player board. And they are going, the first player will get this little marker here. Now also, each player will be deciding what goods they will start off with. There are 3 types of goods: orange, white, and gray. I have no idea what they signify anymore, I forgot. But each player can start with any combination of these that they want, but it can't match any previous player. So for instance, if I was first and I just said, I want 2 whites and a gray, well, the next player couldn't get 2 whites and a gray. They'd have to get, you know, maybe 3 oranges, and the next player can say, I want 3 grays, you know. As long as it's not the same as the previous player, that's fine. So there's a lot of combinations you can have, but you cannot start off with the same goods. No player can start off with the same amount of goods. And then of course you would put all your goods right here. Now you also have a spot for 2 other extra players, only 1 if you're playing a 2-player game, but 2 if you're playing 3 to 4 players. That's why that 3 plus is there. And then you're ready to start the game. Now each player is going to have a deck of cards that they're going to have, and they're all the same. They're going to have an outline to tell you whose they are, but these are all the base cards you'll be starting with. Of course, there are more cards up here you can add to your hand, and then another stack of cards that you'll be eventually dealing out. They'll be signified by the B2 or B1s. You'll put the B1s out first and the B2s out last, but those are cards you can add to your hand throughout the game. This is basically programming, a programming game where you're putting your programming here on the board. But first off, before I get to show you how to program, let me tell you what each one of these cards mean. Now, very quickly, if you have this card, this means you can load or unload your boat. So for instance, I have 6 spaces that I can put goods on. So if I started, let's say, with 3 orange, I can move my 3 orange right there and load it up, just like that. Now, if I could load it up with 6 goods, I would actually get a victory point as well. So that'd be really nice if I waited a little bit, maybe got some more goods to load it up fully, because if I do that, I would go up 1 point on the victory track. But anyway, that's what loading up your goods means. The next card is moving your boat. As you see, you can move it 2 spaces. Starting from Valparaiso, you can actually go to any one of these oceans by using 1 space. But the reason it lets you move 2 spaces is if you're over here and you wanted to move 1-2 spots over here, you could definitely do that and set sail over to that area. So basically 2 moves will get you anywhere, even back to the bay if that's what you need. So the next action card is to trade with the locals here, with the local C merchants here. And when you trade, you have to have either 3 white to get one of these, 3 orange, or 3 gray to get one of those cards in that area. So earlier I showed you that I had loaded up 3 orange, so I probably would have wanted to go to the middle here. And if I had played this card next, and I was right there, then I would give up my 3 orange, put them back into the pool there, and then I would get to grab one of these cards. Now, since I was the first one to trade in that area, I would also get 5 additional pesos. And as you see, that's why we have 5 pesos in each one of those areas. So first one to trade there would grab those pesos and add them to their account there, and then they get to choose one of these cards. Now, these cards signify different things. This one gives you 10 pesos when you play it. This one, you can trade any 2 cubes for 1 victory point. They're kind of easy to read. There is a player aid in the instructions that will definitely help you out. But anyway, more importantly, these also come as victory points at the end of the game. So picking these up can really help you out. Now, when you pick up that, you'll just put it in your hand, and then later on you can use that one on your next, on the next round, and program it into your next turn and get the benefit of whatever that card states. Now, let's say I did pick this card, I put it into my hand, and then we take the next card from the top deck, which is a B card. As you see, B cards are worth more victory points in the game, and sometimes they can be a lot better, and a lot of times they are. So what happens if another player were to go up here and he were to trade? Well, obviously he'd take the B card, right? I just told you it's worth more victory points, and sometimes they're a lot more powerful than the A cards. Well, if he did that and there were still A cards available, he would have to pay, and if you can't see it here, there's a little emblem that has the 10 peso marker. You have to pay 10 extra pesos to get that B if there are A's in the area. Now, if all those A's are gone, they're just B's, then you wouldn't worry about paying 10 extra dollars. Only when there's a B and there's a B and an A in the same row would you have to pay 10 extra dollars just to get that B. To get the A, all I'd have to do is put in the 3 trade. To get the B, I need the 3 trade and 10 pesos. So that's what stops people from just, once someone gets an A, everyone just picking the B's and not passing over the A's. The B's will be a little bit more expensive until all the A's are gone. So anyway, the next action is to move your merchant. Now, when you move merchants, you can move both of your merchants the same distance. For instance, if I wanted to move them both 1, I could for free. If I both wanted to move them 2 spaces, I could do that for just paying 1 peso. 1 peso moves both of them 2 spaces. And spaces can be 1, 2, the way stations, Valparaiso, and the little merchant areas are a space. Now, of course, I could pay 4, you wouldn't pay 5, you would pay 4 coins to move all of them 3. Now, what if I only wanted to move 1, 3, and 1, 2? Maybe I said 1, 2, 3. I wanted to get him over here, and him I wanted to go 1, 2 here. Well, what would I pay? Would I pay 2 for that guy and 3 for that? No, you just pay the 3. You pay the $4 total to move him 3, and he would only move 2, and his third action would just, move action would go to waste. But that's how you move around the board. Now, the next one is trade. This means you will take advantage of the bottommost tile of any one of these cities, and you can take advantage of it. So for instance, on this one, it says that if you have, you can do this 1 to 3 times, and that's determining on how many people you have in that city. So since I have 1 person, I can only get 1 orange and 1 white. But what if I moved both of my merchants there? Well, then I could take that action twice. I could get 2 orange and 2 white. Now, the only thing you need to remember is if there is another merchant in the area and you're using your trade action, you must pay 2 pesos to that player. Now, what if there are 2 different players there? Well, you'd have to pay 2 pesos to each of them as well. Now, if a player has their house, so you can build houses here in the area. What if a player has a house and there's no merchant there, but there's a house there? You don't have to pay anything. You only have to pay when there is another merchant in the area, because basically you're trading. Now, when you do that trade, whatever that trade is, you're going to take this tile, let's say since I trade in this place, and you're going to bring it down right here. So that would be the next action. If anyone wanted to trade there, they get 2 whites. This tile would go up here in the, anonymous tile. It'd shift everything down, bringing this one down, and it would go right there in the E spot. So as you can see, as everyone is trading tiles, you know, these tiles will be moving around the board, shifting down, shifting these down. So the same one may go to different cities because this is the randomizer that keeps the merchants, different. Their deals will not be the same each time. So anyway, that's the trade option there. Now the next one is building a house. If you pay 10 coins, you get to build one house. Now, remember I said you will start off the game with 4 houses on your player board. So, if you were to place a house, you must have a merchant in that area. For instance, I'm not in Valparaiso, so I couldn't put a house in Valparaiso unless I had a merchant there. Speaking of Valparaiso, if you put one on there, you would receive whatever income that is at the end of every round. So in this case, I would get 3 coins. Now, you don't get to choose which one you want to do. You have to do the first one, top one here, and then the next one has to be built here, 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 and around the board like so. Now, in a 2-player game, of course, like I told you, there's less room to build, but in a 4-player game, they give you plenty of room to build in here. So it's also a little game of matching when you want to play your house next on the board, because you may want a certain item. This one gives you, this is a victory point if you put one there and you get a white cube. This one, you put one here, you get a victory point every round. So that's really neat too. Now, the player who's built the most at the end of every turn will get 5 pesos. And tiebreakers are decided by, hierarchy, whoever went there the earliest. So in this case, let's say I just planted 2 there and yellow had 1 there. I would get 5 pesos plus 3 pesos for this. That's 8 pesos total, plus I'd get a gray cube. Whereas yellow, who came in second place, would get 2 pesos and a white cube. So that's kind of how it would work. Remember, yellow could not put theirs here to gain a victory point or here to gain a victory point each time. All these spots would have to be filled first. So that's building in town. Now, if you wanted to build, let's say, at one of the way stations here. These are the little way stations here. You can't do any trades there, but you have to pass through and stop on them to get to some of the towns for trade centers. If you were to put your house on one of these, you would instantly get the victory points associated with that station. These 2 are worth 3, these 2 are worth 2. So let's say I put it there, I'd get 3 victory points. And now, anytime another player was to move through this area, they had to stop through here as they were moving to this town, they would have to pay me 2 pesos. So it's 2 pesos all around. So it's just a bigger way to generate money during the game as people are traveling back and forth to different towns. Now, to talk about the towns here, if you were to place a house in one of the towns, you would instantly get 1 victory point. And one of the benefits of planting a house in the town is, at the end of every turn, everyone must return back to Valparaiso. You may have 1 merchant left out on the board in each one of these spots, but no more than 2. So for instance, if blue had both their merchants here, then at the end of the round, one of them would have to go back here. They can't both stay there. However, if I had a house there, then I could keep as many as I wanted there, because the house would kind of keep everyone around. Now, another cool thing is, if you were to build like a line, let's say I built a house there and there, then this would only cost me 1 move to get from here to Valparaiso, even though it's 2 spaces away. But because I had 2 blue houses there, I treat this like it's just 1 move. And as you know, as we look back at one of our cards, 1 move is free. So that's kind of a combo you can get in the game. So there's a lot of good places. There's a lot of good strategy placing your houses in towns, at way stations, and in Valparaiso. It's just that awesome. Anyway, that's placing your houses. The next one, as you see, we have 2 extra players here, merchants that can be unlocked. How to do that is to play this card. If you play 1 of each resource, you will get a free man unlocked. Now, when they get unlocked, they go straight to Valparaiso, the main city. And of course, you can have a maximum of 4 merchants out. This one can give you extra money. You can exchange any color cube of your choice 1 time and get 10 pesos. And so those are the cards. Like I said, everyone has these same cards in their hand. They will choose some of these cards. Now, you see at the bottom, there are these little icons here where they can get cubes or coins. What does that mean? If you don't want to do the top action, you can always do the secondary action. So, for instance, if maybe I just needed a gray. You know, I didn't need 10 pesos. I just need one more gray cube. I could use this and say I'm using the gray cube action, or I'm going to get an orange and a white, or any color I want, or 5 pesos. So they're kind of all little different. And like I said, maybe you put this card down by accident, or maybe you just needed this stupid resource and that was it. So there's always a secondary action you can take on any of the cards if you need to. Now that you know what the cards are like, let me tell you how a round is played. First off, players are going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 cards down in the order of how they would like those actions done. Now they cannot use their 5th action marker until they've removed 2 houses, placed 2 houses on the board. So building houses early is a good strategy. Once you build 2 houses on the board, then you get a 5th token, a 5th opening here. By the way, if you place 2 more houses out, you'll get, all 4 of your houses are out, you'll get a victory point. So anyway, you put them in that order, 1, 2, 3, and then, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 if you've unlocked it. And you put them face down, and then the first person who finishes this is an optional rule, they will get a cube of their choice, a color cube of their choice, and then they can also turn this timer upside down and time it, because that gives everyone roughly a minute to put together the rest of their programming. Now, you do not have to play with the timer. However, in a gaming group who has tons of analysis paralysis, I love that they have this timer. But you do not, the rules say you don't have to do the timer if you don't want to, but the timer is a really good thing, or people will just be there all day looking at their cards. So anyway, once you place all your players out, then everyone can start. Now, there is an option to place a bonus card, like a 0 action before your first one, so you can get back-to-back actions if you need to. However, you have to pay 5 pesos each turn to use that slot, so it can get expensive. Now, I should say on this board, at any time you can turn in a cube for 3 pesos, and anytime you can turn in 20 pesos for a victory point if you so want to. But anyway, you go around the room, and each player plays their first action, then everyone does their second, third, fourth, and so on and so forth. Now, if you see these little negative peso numbers up here, what does that mean? Well, let's say I'm flipping over my cards, and I see maybe that green came into this station. Now, man, for the next 2 actions, I'm worried about moving my boat out and making a trade out here. I had no idea green was going to come into here. Oh no, if they get to trade, then I'll lose all these beautiful whites that I was really wanting, maybe. So what I would do, if instead of doing my first action, maybe I want to do my 3rd action instead. Well, that's going to cost me 2 pesos. Now, after you do an action, everything will shift down, so it'll get cheaper the longer you wait. But, as you know, sometimes you may say, oh no, I did this wrong. I put down the wrong card. I did my actions backwards. Well, it's going to be expensive, but you can do them backwards for 4, 3, 2, and 1. If you want to play anything out of order, you can. You just have to pay that penalty. But that's a really cool idea as well. So, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be programming your cards, getting victory points, getting goods, getting money, getting more victory points. The first person to pass 18 points, that ends the game. You finish out the round. Then you add up any bonus points from any cards collected, and then of course the person with the most points wins. I should also mention that the first player token will change discerning on who was the last person to build in Valparaiso. So if it was yellow, yellow will be the first player. However, if red would have put a house here, red would be a first player, and that's what decides first player each round as well. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, you know what? I know this game is new as of this video, but I don't see it in stores. I found this by looking online and just looking at it and said, hey, this looks like a good game, a game that I may enjoy. So I did find 1 copy online and got it. So hopefully it'll be, well, by the time this airs, maybe it'll be easier to find. But it is a very fun game. I like a lot of the choices that you had. And when we first played this, I had no idea what you should do first. Should you go out and get as many cards as you can? I started gathering supplies and getting cards because those are in-game points. Points don't happen that much. You think 18 points, they'll get 18 points in the 2nd or 3rd round. No, it'll take several rounds before you can even get up there. Sometimes you'll go a whole round without gaining a single victory point. So it is kind of interesting, the slow climb where you're trying to, of course, you want to get these good cards because they're going to help improve your deck. You want to get money because you need money in certain situations. And of course you need resources too, and then score victory points. A lot of times the different villages, when everyone hits trade and those tiles go into that randomizer, is what I call the randomizer, that just takes it out and puts the next one into that category, you never know which tiles are going to go where, because you don't know what your other teammates, or what the other player is going to be doing. And so it's really fun. I like that card programming that's very similar to Robo Rally, another game I really love. And this one just has so many choices, and it's like you've seriously got to see, man, I'll never you may say, I'll never pay 5 coins for an extra move at the beginning of my first move, and you do. Or you say, oh, I'll never pay that extra money to jump and do this move early. But when you see someone's card get revealed, you know immediately what they're doing. You're like, oh no, I got to put my plan into place now. And you start, paying those coin to have those other cards, skip ahead to those other cards. A lot of strategy here. You're looking at different towns going, oh man, I need that trade. If I get that, and then I go zip over to this place next, then I can go there and sell those for victory points, or sell these for a buku amount so I can load my ship. A million choices, like I said. Your mind's just going everywhere. And to be honest, it's pretty much a close race, because even if you cross the 18-point mark and you think, yeah, I'm leading. No, it may be the guy who went out and kept getting card after card after card, and he has a whole deck of victory points that he could just pass someone up in the end. I know we played one game where I think I had the lead by about 6 points, and I won by like 1 or 2. It was something like that, because this guy had a bunch of bonus cards and was catching up with me. It was wild. So a lot of stuff, a lot of decisions, just a really, really great game. I hope it becomes readily available as of this video. I hope it does. But anyway, well worth your time. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, game on.